Hello, everyone. This is Nitin Raizada, Vice President of Digital Transformation at Indegene, welcoming you for the uh, panel today on Omnichannel Analytics, a topic that is gaining more and more prominence in the market, something that we see a lot of our customers dabbling with today. I have got an esteemed panel here with me, people who have been in this space for a long, long time. I have Ashish Jaju, uh, who is the who's the VP and head of global marketing at Whiterest. I have Liang, who heads omnichannel analytics and strategy at Insight, and I have Chitra Narsimachari from Gilead Sciences. She's the VP of Global Decisions Sciences and Insights. This panel has been engaged in this particular area, so I'm looking forward to a very engaging conversation. Just to set the preamble for this panel's context, omnichannel is a very nebulous term. Depending on who you ask, uh, even within the same company, there are different views, different definitions. So I would let the panel introduce themselves. We'll go one by one, ask them about their career journey, about a little bit more about themselves, and also how they define omnichannel in their own context. Just one last thing from a housekeeping perspective: all the statements, all the views here are personal views. They will talk through their experiences. They're not representing their company's position on this. So I just wanted to make that clear. With that, we'll get started. Ashish, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, so a little bit of a correction there, Nathan. My title is Head of Global Digital Marketing and Sales Strategies. Yeah, I've been with Beatrice a long time, obviously, since its formation a couple of years ago, but also its predecessor companies. So, um, we've obviously delved into omnichannel as a definition and a conversation, and obviously the enablement of that capability and rolling it out globally. So, really looking forward to a involved conversation, especially um, not just the omnichannel analytics piece, but how does it what does that data and analytics really mean in terms of a customer experience and a user journey? So, what does data driven customer experience kind of look like, especially as we lead toward personalization in our industry?
Thank you, Ashish. Liang?
Hi everyone. I've been with Insight almost 10 years. My background is actually in consulting and then sales and field operations, and then kind of transitioned into um, a holistic kind of field plus digital approach. This is actually kind of a fun question because uh, within my organization, we actually don't use the term omnichannel. We've deployed it. We actually have created the ecosystem for it. But we really think, much to Ashish's point, we think in terms of customer engagement and customer experience. So I would say from that perspective, right, omnichannel is just how we go about delivering it, but we really think in terms of where is the customer in their decision-making process, what do they trust, where do they go to engage, et cetera. And we try to align to our customers' goals, preferences, and habits. So,
Wonderful. Very nice perspective. Thanks for sharing that, Liang. And our next participant, Chitra.
Thank you, Nitin. I've been in the pharma sector now for 18 years, and before pharma, I used to be a tech consultant with an engineering background. So I started in J&J and in Novartis, and then now in Gilead. I have seen analytics and data science evolve to support this journey, and you're calling it omnichannel. The definition of omnichannel to me is if you can deliver a full scale personalized engagement journey to a customer across all the channels, communicating a value proposition that makes sense to them. That to me is a successful omni-channel journey. Um, the emphasis is more on the personalized story that you are able to say, which can create a good value proposition, is more important than delivering it in all channels is a derivative effect. And customer experience is probably the primary objective of what you will achieve in this process. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. I think the theme that is coming out from all the three explanations that I heard is that the customer experience, personalized customer experience, is where the magic happens, right? And that's what all of you are trying to accomplish. Now, towards that, if I look back at my journey with pharma, there are so many touch points, so many interactions that pharma has with their customer. And when you're talking about omnichannel, when you're talking about a unified customer experience, you are essentially looking at an organization to come together and create an umbrella view, a unified view, and that's where all these different organizations that are in charge of making those interactions happen come into play. So how do you foster and encourage an organization-wide omni-channel customer experience mindset? I think that's probably one of the big challenges that we see today. We'll go around the table. Chitra, maybe we start with you, and then I'll ask the other participants as well. How do you foster and encourage an organized-wide omni-channel customer experience mindset?
So this is a tough one, right? And I do not know if any company in pharma has fully accomplished this journey. So you have to start from the structure, the way you think about engagement, and then for the analytics team, you're not having a field effectiveness analytics separate from digital execution analytics separately. You are looking at a customer on execution effectiveness across channels. That's the number one difference for data science and analytics team. But then when you look at the marketing team, you are no more an HCP marketer, digital marketer, and then you do other types of marketing activities. It's not like that. You have a marketing content strategy that is unified, and you have operational capabilities that is going to orchestrate between all of the channels. So content strategy becomes different. So almost every part of the organization that is going to touch this journey needs to be able to think about their scope of work in a very different way. So it will become the organic ways of working and the organic way of thinking about how you engage with your customers in the future. So many times when you see the industry today, the transformation is probably the most used word today in the industry. And primary reason for that is life sciences as a sector is trying to venture into this gamut of personalization, and we are trying to change the way we work. And that's the reason why we are all transforming into a different organization that can adapt to it. And I think it's a wonderful journey. Some of us will be extremely successful. Some of us will stumble along the way, but still we will reach the goal. And this is why these type of sessions where we are able to share our learnings with each other is super helpful, because at the end of the day, the success will be reflective on the experience that you're able to create with your customers, just like any other sector like Netflix or Prime, Amazon. The experience that they create with us is super positive. And I think life sciences should be able to do the same type of experience with our customers. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Chitra. That's a very interesting perspective. Liang, from your vantage point, how would you address this? You are in a very special scenario. You are in a different scenario. How do you look at fostering this culture?
Yeah, so the way that kind of buy-in across the organization happened at Insight was actually from the ground up. So we started pretty small, one brand, tested out and tried a new approach to engaging customers, right? We had very strong buy-in from our brand marketing lead as well as sales lead. And then as we demonstrated results from it and actually the impact it had, that's actually what piqued the interest of leadership and other parts of the organization. So we really started with proving out that it can be effective, that it actually impacts results. And then the buy-in actually grew mostly organically.
Nice. No, so I think that context really helps, right? Inside a company which started with one product, built that whole environment, and there was success to lead others very quickly. And Ashish, you represent a very different, very unique company, Vitres, right? What's your view about omnichannel, and how are you looking at fostering this whole culture?
To Chitra's point earlier, right? This first defining omnichannel and then fostering this culture or change. They're all absolutely. It's like trying to identify what color the water is, right? You just can't get the right answer or the wrong answer. It's just what it is, how you look at it, the lens you apply to it. Um, However, it is a very significant change management challenge, but at the same time, there's something which is very common, right? The one common theme across all of us in commercial, whether it be in sales or in marketing and digital marketing, what have you. Um, Highly motivated individuals, mostly type A personalities, um, right? So trying to appeal to that is really something which works across organizations, and it then catches on fire. So to Liang's point, breeding success, whether it is bottoms up as a grassroots effort or a top down strategy, is all fine, but to me, one of the biggest revelations that at least I believe in is we got to believe our customers, our target audience, are people just like you and I. Their behaviors are evolving and changing, their preferences are evolving and changing every single time, right? And the attention span that they can give us, which is really what we are seeking, is really very short. So at the end of the day, to me it is all driven by the experience, is which manifests itself in terms of the content that they see. And that's why personalization is so important, right? So I'll take a concrete example. If you have a CVA with four core messages delivered for four different types of audiences, right? Now, if that is your primary asset, then how many uh, derivative assets or secondary assets can you generate for that level of personalization that you can lead down a path, right? It's going to have a multiplier effect on how you engage with your customers. So once you start to lay this out for everybody in the organization, then light bulbs will go off, right? They will start turning on, and you will start to see various stakeholders within the organization embrace stuff. And of course, nothing succeeds like success. So if you can show the results, brilliant.
I think excellent example, Ashish. I think channel content is the key to engagement, and we are seeing a lot of companies now starting to move towards that heavy focus on that area. And you are all absolutely right. Nothing succeeds like success. So if there is a proof point, things will move, and hopefully the organization will embrace it in its holistic sense. Now, another question that we keep coming across is that we are trying to be like the Amazon, and Chitra also mentioned Amazon, Netflix, right? That those are the prime examples. All of us as people are used to a completely different digital or customer experience today in our personal lives, right? Long was that 20 years back I used to go to office to use fax and get access to email and printers. Today I think the facilities at home are way better than what is available in the office, right? Digital transformation for us as consumers has shifted tremendously. Now we see that when it comes to the talent that is needed to drive this customer experience mindset, we see these questions often being asked that people have been successful in pharma traditional roles. There was a different way of getting things done, and it was very successful. But again, success breeds a certain mentality, a certain mindset, and certain times opposition to change. So should we be looking at talent in a different way? What about training of people who've been part of pharma into this new realm? Or should we be, or do you think we will be seeing a lot of influx of people outside pharma bringing in that digital mindset? So, a question on what should be the talent strategy uh, as we start driving towards this customer experience model? Ashish, let's start with you this time, and then we'll go around the table.
Sure, sure. What we are going to see, Nitin, in the future is a convergence of skill sets, and therefore roles and responsibilities. Right. What we had classic broad level lines defined in terms of roles and responsibilities and organizational constructs, maybe even 5 years ago, will not hold true, um, even in a couple of years from now, because things are evolving and changing. And I mean, we've even heard at the Indegene Digital Summit how efficiencies have been garnered just by transforming processes, right? So the the time tested classic of people, process, technology, that pyramid is going to continue to evolve. Processes will obviously drive it, but at the end of the day, it is technology that is going to enable it, and people who know how to use the technology best are the ones that are going to be what you will seek, right? So the roles of the future are going to fuse. In my opinion, those boundaries are going to become permeable, rather than be as rigidly defined as they are right now. You will see individuals who will have multiple roles depending on what the ask of the current project is, and there could be 2 or 3 projects that progress in parallel or even more, where you're expected to wear one hat for one project and another hat for another project at the same time. It does not mean that subject matter expertise is going to diminish. It is just going to evolve.
Right. No, I completely hear you. We see that happen today. But Liang, let me ask you this, right? You don't have the burden of carrying an organization from age old times. This is a new organization. It came about a few years back. How have you seen the talent strategy uh, build out at Insight as you started going towards your goals?
Yeah, so my team in particular is tasked with identifying ways to differentiate how we go about deploying and strategizing, analyzing how we engage customers. So for that specific kind of niche use case, I look for a combination of enough experience to be able to apply it to future kind of problems that arise, right? All of us that work in digital know that something new will come about in the next 6, 12 months that's not on our radars today, right? It might be something Apple decides to do. It might be data that existed yesterday and doesn't anymore. Maybe Google will force everyone to switch to a new analytics platform. I'm hiring for people who are well equipped to be able to handle those problems that we don't even know about now, right? So a lot of it for me is hiring for potential and also looking for ex-pharma experience, right? The folks we bring in, they do have some experience in pharma, but personally, I love the perspective that comes from having worked in different sales and marketing models and the ability to translate a lot of that and apply it to new problems.
Wonderful. Excellent. Chitra, you have been in the trenches in this war towards omnichannel customer experience. How has been your journey? What's your view around this talent strategy?
Yeah, so the talent strategy, I hear a little bit of echo, but I hope it's okay.
You're clear.
Um,
You're clear.
okay. So what I look for in building this type of a capability at scale, right? The most important skill set is not getting it right the first time, because you're never going to get it right the first time in this type of a program. What is your ability in reacting to something that is not optimal pretty quickly and learning from that? So it is the ability to build analytical solutions as products so it can be scaled very effectively. And then it's the ability to be able to learn from the recommendations that you have given, what recommendations are working good, and how do you actually react to something that is suboptimal and fix pretty quickly. So this is the nimbleness of thinking is super critical for us to be successful, because you're not and then the concept of materiality, right? If you are looking for data scientists, most of the data scientists will be able to tell you which predictive model is working well, what are the different parameters that's going to create the best predictive accuracy, right? But what we should be looking for is how do you use the data science to superbly mirror the objective function of the business, because every brand or every business has its own strategic business problems they are trying to solve to create the right experience. So a data science is the core skills of a data science is important. What is equally important, how they can apply those core concepts of data science to creating a business value. And that's what I kind of look for. And I think Liang explained that really well. One of the things is the change is the only constant in this space. So your learning agility to new changes from an external environment perspective is equally important as well. So that's kind of how I look for skills in people. Okay, today it's working, and how this person is going to evolve, and then how they will react to a business suboptimality pretty quickly and answer it analytically really well. And then the concept of measurement is the next piece, right? You measure your recommendations, and you know that the measurement could have been better. So you have this unbiased view of your own work, that everything is going to evolve and you constantly correct and feed. So I think those are the three important things that I look for, Nitin, in creating this for data science and analytics talent, right? But then organizationally, the talent is all about how can a marketer react well for a recommendation as well. So you have to be able to improve on your content strategy based on the journey that is working. So it's the content journey is actually more important than individual content. So the agility is probably the most important one, and the structure of the team should be a velocity team, not traditional teams where you have like this defined scope and role. I think Ashish was saying that there is going to be a convergence of skill set in a velocity team. I think that's a very important concept as well. So I think that's
Yeah,
kind of how I see it.
absolutely. And just to add to what Chitra said there, Nitin, right? Uh, the the old belief system of which is proven over time, obviously, is you hire for attitude because skill I can train for. And I think that will still continue to hold true. So because to Chitra's point about agility that comes along, and how you need to be nimble on your feet and so on, all of that comes from an attitude that an individual brings to the organization. So as long as you hire for the right attitude, I think building on the skills, we've got extremely talented people out there that can be trained and coached, but attitude you'll not be able to.
You know. No, I
Yeah.
think that applies to pretty much all of us. I think the attitude, the ability to learn quickly, ability to fail fast and learn from it quickly, even more important in these changing times. So, cannot agree with more with you. Uh, I think just changing gears in the interest of time. Another important question that we keep facing, and we talk to different groups within pharmaceutical. Uh, it's the question about what comes first, right? Uh, People are invested in channels, creating content, and then there is a subsequent impact on analytics, right? Let's look at analytics now with what is available. There are other customers who believe that if you do not have an analytics strategy, because ultimately you are trying to drive customer experience through insights, one thing should lead to the other. Analytics needs to come first. Philosophical question, but I think an important one. I just wanted to hear your perspectives on that. Liang, let's start with you, and then we'll go around the table.
Yeah, so I think the way we kind of approach analytics and whether to do something, it kind of goes hand in hand. But before we will kick off some sort of analytics project, so I'll use machine learning as an example, right? We do not start with a machine learning model or something that we can do with machine learning and then ask, how does it fit a business need? Right? We sit down and we identify what are goals for the business, how can we achieve it, and actually the first step we would ask is, can we achieve it in a simpler way? Because there's no reason to build a machine learning model just for the sake of it, right? And then if the answer is no, and a machine learning model is the best approach, then we build the model. But I think the key to even implementing that is we get buy-in on the willingness to do something different with the data before we go ahead and actually build the model, right? So it's, if you had this, would you act differently? What actions would you take? And if we get to buy in there, then we'll say, well, then we're going to go and try to build the best model. So that's generally the approach we take. And I think on your broader question of like, do you do analytics or do you build out a tactic? I think you want to, at minimum, right? Because someone could say, well, if you didn't build a tactic, you don't have any data. At minimum, you should have a measurement plan before you deploy it, right? So that you're not deploying something and figuring out later, how do I measure success? You want to set those goals up front before you even go down that path.
Ashish?
So, yeah, this is to me truly a philosophical question in terms of chicken and egg. And Nitin, you and I've been, in the trenches with this one together as well. And there's no right or wrong answer to this one. And the reason is, I think your channel experiences need to exist, but you also need to know where you're driving with those channel experiences. This is what, so the destination or the journey or the direction is going to be provided by the analytics. However, it's a big however, right? Those channels need to exist, they need to be enabled for that journey to happen. So to me, these are parallel paths which actually have a lot of interconnectivity, right? And the engineer in me, it truly almost sees that this is a truss system, and the strength of a truss is actually in the interconnectivity between the two pillars or beams.
I agree. Chitra, what do you think about it?
So I think I mentioned this in the talent conversation, right? Uh, to be honest with you, Nitin, I don't think the question is what should lead first versus the other, because this is a unique problem. This is not a problem where you're solving for a business question. The goal is already pre-aligned. All of us want to create the best customer experience, right? That's the goal. So if you have to create the customer experience, every function has to do some things differently. And the minute you talk about experience, you have to know more about your customer. Then how do you know more about your customer without data and insights? You can't. So that's why the velocity team setup is super important in getting this successfully. At least in my experience in Novartis, when we started, I think analytics started first. We had a proof of concept that was already working, and then we got digital marketing on board, to kind of test out the waters, right? But then when it became massive scale, a velocity team was the only thing that could work. So everybody has to kind of work together in it. It's not like one preceding the other. So this is one initiative where analytics will contribute to success, or will have a bigger contribution to success or failure of the whole program, because of the information, the agility, the the real time nature of it and the advanced skill set of it. I don't know how to say that in a very tangible way. If you go to Prime versus Netflix, you will have different experiences. The same customer likes Prime for a different reason, Netflix for a different reason. And that's because both of them are processing your information very differently. So the knowledge that they have about you is very different. So that's why analytics becomes a central core. There are so many questions on the chat. I think the first one I can answer, and I'll give it to Liang and Ashish. So the first question was, how important is the content strategy and does it have to evolve, right? If you have the same content and you're only personalizing it to deliver it in different ways in different channels, I don't think it's going to create a great experience. So variety of content becomes really, really important, right? And how much variety is actually materially possible is another thing, right? Pharma is not like other industries. Developing a content, getting it approved, getting it modularized is super important. So I'm in 100% agreement with that question. It's becoming urgent for brands to consider content strategy in the context of omni-channel experience. Absolutely. This is probably one of the main reasons why your impact that you're creating through this program will start plateauing after a while, because you don't have variety of content. Um, Anecdotally, people believe that content contributes 40% to the of the total value. Maybe it is more. So it's super important that we focus on content strategy, how to modularize the content, how to get variety of content, how to think about content journey, how to content sequence your engagements. Those are the main reasons of scalable business impact for the same brand. I don't know if Liang and Ashish, if you want to add to that answer.
Yeah, sure. So I think we think about content strategy a little bit differently, where it's, I think, more in terms of trust and convenience from the customer standpoint, and trying to align our content in choosing where to deploy, right? Because the traditional um, model is, I think what Chitra was speaking to, is you create the same content, you create versions of it for each type of deployment. So you have the same kinds of content on, say, social media as on your website, as third-party platforms and emails, etc. Whereas we're moving toward trying to consider how to align it to what customers trust, how they engage on different platforms, as well as their, just kind of like their behaviors and habits and where they are in their decision making process. So trying to kind of align those and connect those dots so that it just makes more sense from the customer's point of view.
Yeah, and I'm I'm going to jump and weave a couple of other questions that we are seeing come through. Right, one of them is about whether it should be a big bang approach or an incremental approach, and the challenges that hold organizations from excellent omnichannel experiences. To me, they're all woven together in the fact that these experiences again manifest only through the content that we create, the modularization that Chitra is talking about, and the activation of those content in the channels, right? Setting up the MarTech infrastructure to actually deliver the experiences is comparatively, and please note I'm using comparatively, an easier task, right? The challenge truly is the MLR process, the do's and don'ts around it, and
Yes.
the perception of risk associated with a certain activity, right? Because um, most other industries who are adjacent to us that we want to learn from, who are perceived to be far ahead of us, do not have the same level of restrictions as we do. And for good reason, I'm not disputing that. However, being able to really get out there and push the envelope, you need a partnership with all adjacent functions to be able to do that. Otherwise, we are going to, excuse me, we are going to continue to struggle through these challenges, right? So at the end of the day, in my mind, an incremental approach is better because you can learn and you can apply those learnings to the subsequent actions. Also, with digital, the ability that you have to change direction, whether it be from content, whether it be from messaging, whether it be even channels that you are leveraging, are very quick, right? So the whole aspect of learn fast, I wouldn't call anything fail fast, because it's a learning and an evolution and evolve quickly. It's something which we can kind of apply more rapidly than in other traditional channels.
So if I hear you, Ashish, Chitra, one of the biggest challenge I think that's coming across, right, and towards the theme of this Indegene Digital Summit, we're talking about scaling transformation, right? And if I'm hearing you right, one of the biggest challenges that we see towards this customer experience, omni-channel, analytics associated with that, is around the content, right? What we have a lot of channels today, we have a lot of interaction today. How do we make that engagement way more involved, way more targeted, way more personalized? And towards that, challenges around MLR, modular content, these are the things that are becoming um, the challenges. I'm sure that there'll be solutions to it, but that's probably one of the biggest focus areas. Do I hear you correctly in this space?
Absolutely. I have to, Nathan, I have to mention there is a question on the chat that I don't know if you want, what advice can you mention to work with brand leaders to leverage omni-channel strategies? Often the priority of the brand is to generate content without listening to the consumer. I'm actually, it's quite interesting, the question, right? I hope the priority of the brand is not to generate content without listening to the consumer. We do a lot of consumer insights or customer insights. The only way the omni-channel strategy is going to succeed is to have a customer obsessed mindset in doing everything we do. It is all, that is all it is. It's all it is. We can have the most complex algorithms on reinforced learning on the engine, but if it is not really delivering what the customer wants, we are going to fail at it. So you asked the first question, what advice can you mention to work? I think Liang mentioned this. Measurement is probably the only way where a commercial leader will start paying attention. So if you say that we have a use case where you have listened to the customer and you have produced something and you're able to measure and prove the success on business impact, then it becomes easier for them to process that there is something in value to be able to follow this journey. At least that has been my experience when we did the first NBA. We were able to show that customers are engaging 30-40% higher than what they used to be in that channel when we are personalizing it. It was really good.
Yeah, so to add to that, Chitra, one example that I've used with industry folks is the fact that in today's day and age, um, how many of them really carry a Rand McNally map with them all the time anymore, right? They all depend on these devices called smartphones to navigate. Um, if you ask somebody about something that they're not aware of, the first thing they do is reach into their pockets or wherever the smartphone is and search for it online. Now, if the same individuals who actually forget that they are not only looking at consumer behavior evolving, but also themselves changing,
Correct.
they have to listen to the external world. We cannot live in isolation. And in the Stone Age, they got to come out of it. You're not creating a marketplace, you are creating demand, you're creating awareness, you're educating about your product, and therefore what the customer needs and wants should be heard is just um, marketing 101, I guess.
Well said,
Yeah.
Ashish. Well said. Liang, any points from your side? We are towards the end of the session, so I'll take this as the last comment before we wrap up the
Sure.
session.
So just to add on to what was said about this question, like how do you actually get brand leaders to buy into omnichannel, right? I think actually one approach you can take is take the same approach you do thinking about your HCP or DTC customers and apply it to that leader you're trying to kind of get buy-in from, right? Think about what's in it for them, right? What their goals are. And if today, say their goals are to build a lot of tactics, can you give them a better goal, right? Can you give them a goal that shows script lift or engagement lift? And if you can get agreement there on what the success factors are, then you can build towards it.
Excellent point. I think yes, the consensus can be driven if we can share objectives, if we can show how this will make a meaningful impact on business. Truly insightful conversation, great examples that came across during this entire conversation today. So I really thank you for your time today, Ashish, Chitra, and Liang. This was very helpful. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks all. Great conversation.